And you mentioned, I mean, the title of your presentation was Participation in International Research Program Evaluating the Effectiveness of Interventions. I didn't hear a lot that spoke to that international research program.
Okay, let me give the panelists a chance to respond to that, and if there's a bit of time, we can go to a second round. So I don't know how you want to handle the responses, Michael. Do you want to kick off, or do you want to kind of, but maybe we just start with you and then we can work down the line.
That's fine, yeah. I don't know whether I'm responding to Gideon about economic development, etc. I mean, one of the problems is copycat business, and obviously we don't want to control everything. What we give is sort of a couple of hinters. So a lot of what we're trying to do is diversion of businesses. That's one of the problems, like all the spaza shops, if you look at them, 80% come and go within the first year of their existence. There's only 20% that has been longer than 12 months in operation. I'm not so sure about the Shabins, how long they are in business, but that's with spaza shops. So that's to do a lot with diversion of businesses. And one of the things where we feel our government can sort of reduce the barriers to entry is, for instance, early childhood development, the whole ECD. That's a very positive one also in terms of gender-based. I mean, sort of there's obviously a gender bias towards early childhood development, so you cover a couple of things already. I don't know, Chris, whether you want to add to that, because that question was sort of attributed a little bit to you. Yeah, maybe, Chris, you can, I don't know, about the Infinity project or the...
Yes, I must confess I don't know that one, so if I could make contact after this to find out more, I'd be grateful. In terms of the barriers to trade, Gideon and I spoke fairly recently about trialling some of these ideas. We're very happy to do that. And part of the working with the youngsters coming out of Chrysalis, the intention behind involving them in projects, some of them would be to cater or manage public events at the facilities so that they would have those opportunities. Also, we're working with an organization called Dreamworker, who prepares children or youngsters for work opportunities, and they will give us evidence of the number of work days and the value generated by that. So those are some of the things we want to measure. If I could just say about in terms of the impact of preventing violence, one of the things we've done is to measure the impact of the various projects that I showed you that many of them involve youngsters. And the specific measures there are the number and the intensity of their involvement with the project, the links across different age ranges and different cultural groups, the strength of leadership skills within the projects, the sustainability of the groups that are offering these, and the youngsters and the people partaking part, how positive is their perception of the local authority. I mentioned in my presentation that we are going to start tracking the impact of the work with preschool kids, and I take the point that we should perhaps have done that some time ago, but there we are. We also in time want to look at the consistency with which children are in school and their success within schools, and I think there'll be a number of presentations pointing to the centrality of positive engagement with school as one of the best preventers in the longer term of violence. We'll also be tracking through the injury surveillance that's been mentioned previously, the number of youngsters that are getting injured, and then I've mentioned the access to work and the value that generates. So those are some of the indicators that we either have in place or will be putting in place.
Okay, thank you. I think the easy way of saying it is that it's not easy. It is very, very difficult. But how do we manage that? How do we deal with that? We've got a committee called SNAC, or Safe Node Area Committee, which is inclusive of various structures within each of the areas in which we work, right? And we go through leadership training with that particular group, 8-week session, where we talk about development and the processes of engaging the community so they can understand that. After that, we continue where we have like monthly meetings with that particular group. We're dealing with the various issues that are coming through the various structures. And then we have what we call an OD session, which is a ongoing capacity building with that particular committee. But what we also have is a reference group at a bi-monthly level with each of our areas, where we bring everybody else together, all the broader stakeholders, and then we go through what we've done in the last couple of months with this group. And so, so what's that? No, we're working, it's more the stakeholders. And so what happens is that, and also we have a bi-monthly stakeholder meetings in the various areas. So your question then about the interrupters, the people that come in, they are always going to be there. But because you are so open and you are sharing all the information all the time, you will find that, in fact, some of the stakeholders themselves are the ones that cut them down a bit. So in each area, you will go to this one area, and then you will be associated with one political party, you go to another, and vice versa. And so you have to find a way of trying to stay above board and keep with the key principles of the program. And in fact, what we've found is that while it is very difficult and you're not always liked, if you, in each area, if you're clear about the principles and you work together and you compromise and you find each other somewhere within those principles, and then it's generally much easier for the community to have a respect in the processes. So it's not easy, but it requires a lot of time and work to go through that, and we have a big team that can actually manage some of those.
Thank you. Just a quick comment before I hand over to Iris. I think it's kind of the lessons you learn from that are incredibly valuable, because I think those are the sort of things around many organizations struggle on: community consultation and converting community consultation into action and successful projects. So I think it would definitely be something worth kind of capturing and reflecting on. Iris, some challenging questions for you.
Yes. So I think you might be relieved to hear that we have M&E system in place and we are measuring. I might have expressed myself in the wrong way in saying we are still in a conceptual stage. I was talking about the index per se, but we are collecting tons of data: stats, surveys, photography, mapping, and so on, research. But it's true to say that we still very much have like an inputs, outputs driven M&E, like I guess a lot of development projects do. So we are still measuring like a lot of quantities versus qualitative aspects. And so, but we have some aspects, as Chris was mentioning, with evaluating the impact of early child development. We have some partnership with some universities with like some specifics impact assessments. But yeah, that's that. And then this kind of linking to the other question, which is how do you measure the impact that you're having? We see this impact assessment that Tracy talked about, and that is led by UCT in partnership with a lot of universities as a great opportunity, because that is going to be the big impact assessment, basically. And obviously measuring impact on preventing violence is extremely difficult, as we all know it. Crime stats, not necessarily reliable or complete. Police boundaries, not necessarily matching with your project boundaries. But that's what basically the UCT impact assessment is trying to do, and trying to find new ways, new indicators to measure impact on violence prevention. They collect, I think Tracy talked about that they are collecting trauma data from health facilities to try and complement crime stats, and so on. And sorry about that you might have been disappointed about the content of the presentation. I think when we first planned to be part of this colloquium, Richard, who is the lead investigator on this impact assessment, was presenting, and then plans changed, and that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay, just sorry, there was a particular question around the murder statistics, and it's always a highly contested one. It's the per 100,000, and what we took is the Harare data, the Harare police station data. Overall, it's Kailicha, and then we looked at the Harare one particular. Although we're not working in the whole Harare police station, that's I think other speakers have spoken about that, is about the confidentiality and what information can one share, and is the police willing to share when it goes to smaller areas. So we're working on the Harare police station level, and take as the proxy or the control area the other two stations in Kailicha. For instance, the Harare station is the only one in the last statistics that had a decrease, although the Harare police station is the fastest growing police station in terms of population. So the biggest growth of Kailicha in the three police stations is in the Harare police station. And that's sort of that, well, we can spend hours on that. We try to link it to the per 100,000, for instance. In terms of the question of the name of the presentation, I mean, I've given it at the beginning, it was safety as a public good. So things have changed since the announcement of the program. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. We're at lunchtime now, but we did start it a little bit late, so I just want to give an opportunity if there's one or two more questions or comments before we close this panel. So here is your last opportunity. Okay, it seems everyone's stomachs are speaking, yes. I'd like to thank everyone, all the presenters from VPU. I thought it was an absolutely fascinating panel presentation. And thank you very much for questions and comments from the floor. I'd like now to invite you to lunch downstairs. After lunch, there's just a slight change to the program. There's only going to be one panel. We've had to combine the two panels because there was someone who dropped out of the parenting panel who's ill. So we're actually just going to have one panel, and we're going to combine the 3 papers from firearms and the one from the parenting panel, and it's going to take place here. Okay, so thank you so much and enjoy your lunch.